Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you're new to this, my second channel, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with all the after show and pre-show goodness. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal and crypto link in the info box below this video. Now, as we are in the interim stages between the two live shows over on Nathan Oakley 1980, I'm going to leave you with the dulcet tones of whoever is in the panel while I set up for the next live show.
Options would definitely be very interesting and just see where it goes.
I'd much rather have, in winter when it was cold, really cold, like November, December, January, and the nights are short and it's dark before you go home, I would much rather have spent my afternoon in science doing a moonlight experiment to see whether or not we can come to our own formulated conclusion based on what we've just observed, and then having the discussion afterwards about whether or not it was really cold in the moonlight or was something else to be the cause. That would have been way more interesting than learning about pulleys.
I agree with that.
Not an experiment.
Definitely.
Not going to be able
What
to
do you think, Nathan?
isolate your independent variable.
No, I know, but but that it's what the reason why I'm using it, even though I know you're going to pick up on the word experiment, is because it's far more immersive for kids to have the argument, the discussion, the disagreements over whether or not moonlight's cold or not, because at least it makes them aware that there's fucking something weird with the moon, even if they don't come to the same conclusion, right?
But that is the conclusion. But to have them argue about their fairy tale. I've got the right fairy tale about what it is. No, I've got the right fairy tale.
Right. Well, I think
my fairy tale's backed by a test. No, my fairy tale's backed by a better test. Oh yeah, right. Well, there's a method for that.
Well, I think that the scientific method, the real one, should also be more emphasized in school, in physics, in the same age bracket, and also.
I agree.
It can all cooperate and really give new platforms for children or young teens to actually really develop their own knowledge and skills and critical thinking. You can do that with this.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you're new to this channel, or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they're live. There's also a PayPal and crypto link in the info box below this video. Most importantly though, if you would like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcomed back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by Chocolate Saiyan, Arwin and Sleeping Warrior. Good to have you all.
Good afternoon.
Oh, yo.
Hello. Warm welcome, one and all. Did you want to run through housekeeping again? Is it worth it? We didn't even have any success with the people we highlighted on the last show other than Sean's little straw man.
Little red herring. Technically, it wasn't a straw man. He wasn't trying to make my argument easier to debunk. He was literally trying to obfuscate and distract.
I always get those two mixed up.
Yeah. Straw man is making your argument, because you can set fire to a straw man dead easy, can't you, right? Little match.
Yeah.
So just think you can destroy a straw man really easy with one match, but you can't destroy a human that easy because you've got to pull the trigger. So straw man's the easy to kill one. And red herring is the one that's the opposite, which is like...
Isn't straw manning basically just accusing somebody of something they obviously didn't do?
One of them takes an element of the actual argument.
Yeah, and then twists it.
I think that I always assume that's the straw man, but I think I get it the wrong way around. That's actually the
And
red
herring is just distracting to another subject.
Yeah, red herring is a distraction, yeah.
So he's using a red herring then. So he's just distracting onto something that's not related to the issue. So just to summarise, because this is obviously a new stream now. So there's a gentleman who's probably watching this right now called Sean Hufford, and he has accused Anthony of listening to a hangout in the background of a one-to-one discussion with a chap named Alex Nichol or GeoStreber, and in essence GeoStreber was being fed. He was being coached by a chap named Soundly, who we didn't get to on the last show. Somebody mentioned that he'd recently been doxxed, so maybe we can chat about that a little bit if anybody knows about it. But ultimately speaking, this chap Soundly was feeding GeoStreber information while he was discussing the issue of the molten iron core at the centre of the presupposed spherical Earth with Anthony Riley. So upon an issue that came up on that show about the distance to the sun that was discussed by another member of the panel quite recently on this show, Anthony went back, listened to the hangout again between himself and GeoStreber, or so he thought, and heard Soundly coaching GeoStreber. We've got a recording of it, and 2 sound engineers have studied it, and basically through spectrum analysis can figure out whose mic is on at any given time. So GeoStreber's mic is limited to about 7.5K, Anthony's Blue Yeti's limited to about 14K, so even a mouse click that comes through the mic because of the ambience of the room will come through at that frequency range. If it's through Anthony's mic, i.e. up to 14K, if it's coming through GeoStreber's mic, it'll be limited to 7K, and what do you know, Soundly's voice is limited to 7K because it's coming through GeoStreber's system or mic or a combination of the two. Ultimately speaking, it was proven beyond doubt by 2 sound engineers who have worked both as professional sound engineers, and they both said the same thing. This is really simple stuff to figure out whose mic's on. You know, very, very simple for a sound engineer. Anyway, they did it quickly, used different software to validate what they'd done, and proved beyond any doubt that Soundly was being there in the background to coach GeoStreber. So this is, you know, there's no doubt about that particular part. The bit we take issue with is Sean Hufford's defence of these lying assholes. The fact that Soundly has gone on a show with Sean and said to him, it actually sounds like I'm coaching Anthony, ha 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 ha. No, that's just his embedded confession. He was coaching GeoStreber, we know, we've got a recording of it. So that's without doubt. But Sean has, hello, Ronnie O'Sullivan.
290 people have been to space, Nathan.
Yeah. So Sean, on the other hand, has defended this absolute nonsense and accused Anthony of all and sundry in the process. And that's part of the countdown to reification. So they've said, Sean specifically has said that Anthony's listening to a hangout and he can just go and identify that hangout. Well, where the hell is it? You've accused him of something. Well, let's prove it, because we have proven, hi Ranty, beyond doubt that Geo was being coached, contrary to what you have said is the case. So you need to either rescind the complete nonsense that you've spurted against Anthony, the lies, and basically, you know, that's basically it. GeoStreber will always get labelled as a liar, because he is. That's without doubt. Same as Soundly. Absolute and utter garbage, the both of them. They lied through their back teeth about it, and nobody with half a brain is going to deny that you can hear him coaching him, because he is. You know, who's going to defend that? Well, they did, because they're liars. That's what liars do.
Yeah.
Anyway, hey,
and they
Ranty.
propagate their lies onto us.
Right.
Oh, by the way, shout out to Alan B. Ranty's on the panel now. Alan, you can point your finger of accusation against him, and I want to see you do it, because I want to see whether you're a man or not, or whether you'll just bitch and whinge to me about it in chat.
Well, what have I missed now?
Hey, Tommy.
Take your tablets, Nathan.
We have to point out that we have mentally ill people who literally join the panel to project their mental illness onto me.
You haven't missed anything important. It only becomes important if he joins, and I'm pretty sure he won't join because he's a yellow belly, and I don't think he's got the balls to be able to confront you to your face and point the finger of accusation at your way. So, Alan,
Finger of accusation about
Hey,
what?
Daniel. Welcome back.
he's got beef. He's heard a story.
Just fill us in.
I'll tell you offline. I'll not tell you online because
Okay.
at the moment it's drama.
No drama llama.
So So Sean Hufford, back to Sean for a minute. The conclusion point is he needs to apologise for deceiving his audience with lies about whether or not Soundly was in fact leading GeoStreamer. That's what you need to do, Sean. You need to apologise to your audience for deceiving them, because we know that you know that GeoStreamer and the Soundly were doing this. They were coercing together, and we know that you know it. And if you don't know it, you're thick. So I'm pretty certain that you are intentionally deceiving people on your own channel and then slurring me in the process. You don't even have to apologise to me, but you do have to admit that you were lying, and you have to admit to your audience that you were lying about the facts, because the facts are clear. GeoStreamer and Soundly were sneaky in the background. And originally I thought it was you, and that's how you ended up getting involved. But it's great that you ended up getting involved, because you dug yourself a massive hole. I don't expect an apology. You're not man enough to admit it, but you should be able to be man enough to admit it to your own subs about your own mistakes. I don't care that you can't be man enough to apologise to me, Sean. You mean nothing to me anymore, prick.
Yeah, so that's part of the countdown to reification. We've also got Ranty on the panel, who's had an absolutely amazing capture that was addressed, well, I say addressed, sort of brushed over and ignored the main points, but Sly it was asserted that he couldn't debunk something, and it would seem that was absolutely the case, Ranty. You can't.
Cool. I didn't think they would be able to.
One thing, Ranty, that me and Nathan were chatting about offline beforehand was you've benefited from this GoFundMe account that bought you the P1000.
Yeah.
Now, Nathan's view is that it's significantly better camera, and I agree. It is. It is better. But my point is that if I was to, I'd be annoyed if I spent my own £1,000.
Allenby. Hey, baby.
Hi, Chris.
I'd be annoyed if I spent £1,000 of my own money on a camera that then produces results that completely and utterly pisses in the face of ballers, for them to completely ignore it, bury the head in the sand, and just pretend as though it doesn't exist. That'd annoy me. So for my own purposes, I wouldn't spend £1,000 on a camera that is significantly better for the ballers to completely just ignore it, because it pisses all over their belief. I was just wondering what your view is, Ranty. Does it piss you off or what?
I'm not really too fussed, to be honest. I don't care.
Would it piss you off if you spent your own £1,000?
No, not at all. It didn't piss me off when I bought my P900, and I wasn't even involved in the debates back then. I bought that for my own purposes, out of my own money, just decided to go and get one, see whether the earth was flat or not. It didn't bother me then.
Yeah, I just find that the intellectual dishonesty of the ballers is just apparent. Ranty goes out and shows that from like an inch or two above the water, we still see buildings, that the geometric curvature of the earth that Wiggles was trying to tell us yesterday dictates that we must not be able to see, and we can still see it. And we're not looking at a mirage, we're looking at the real thing. So it proves that the earth cannot be a sphere of the size they tell us, if it is a sphere at all. Now, the point is, the ballers completely ignore this evidence, and they still go back to Soundly over 16, 17 miles and believe... blockage, and he's not getting it. So what's going on? How many ballers are there out there that'll just ignore Ranty's work because reasons? Oh, and what's even worse is they use Ranty's work and claim that he proves that it's a ball. And I'm like, what evidence do you think Ranty's proven ball? And you see conspiracy cats going completely misrepresenting your squashed boats video, claiming that the boat's dropping behind the curvature of the earth, yet not telling people that that video is actually showing that the boat's getting squashed at the bottom edge and it's being miraged out. But he's telling people that that video is curvature of the earth. And I'm like, is this just dishonesty, or is this just recklessness? I don't understand it.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing as with Wiggles, right? In order to accept the alternative view, he would first have to accept that the information he's given, the standard rhetoric, is incorrect and being given to him on a daily basis, incorrect though it is. So you've been deceived. Not only it's really easy to deceive somebody, it's far less easy to convince somebody that they've been deceived. That's a very difficult task. So maybe you're asking the wrong question. You know, Wikipedia might be able to help, you know, or Curie or whoever else answers questions when people pose them. How do you convert a zealot? How do you convince a zealot that their position may be incorrect? That's the question. It's not that we need to prove that the earth is flat. That's obvious. You know, it's obvious to the people watching that know it's flat. It's obvious to anybody who goes out and has a look, like Ranty when he first bought his P900. But to those who are zealots and doggedly assert their position, the fact that it's the mainstream narrative, as I keep saying, and it's what they've been told is correct, how could it be wrong? Well, if it is wrong, then you've been deceived. So that's going to leave them in a position doggedly defending it. So they've managed to program a whole load of dogmatists, and they probably don't even realise it's the case, because they can't fathom the possibility that they've been deceived. Hey, James, how you doing? Hello?
Hello, James, speak up.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
we hear you, James. Good to have you. What can we do you for, James? Hello, James? Yeah, you were off mute, then on mute. We'll get there. What can we do for you, sir?
Can you hear me?
We do.
Yeah,
we
we
do hear
can.
you.
Speak up.
All right, yeah. I've just been trying to get on for a while just to talk about
Yeah, we hear you.
between up on the Pennines between Huddersfield and Oldham called Home Moss Signal Station, and from there you can look across Lancashire and see to near Ellesmere Port, a power station which is on the coast, and then off
Fiddler's
the other
Ferry.
way off the hills you can.
Is it Fiddler's Ferry you can see?
There's what? Sorry.
Is the power station that you can see Fiddler's Ferry?
Some sort of chemical plant or something near Elton, near Ellesmere. Thornton Moor
Hey,
was across the other way, off the hill, across the centre of all the cooling towers of Drax and Egborough and Ferrybridge.
Oh, I know what you mean, yeah.
Then after that, not far off that is the Humber Bridge on the estuary there, and that's massive. I just wonder if anyone who's got like a P900 or P1000 in the north could get up there, Home Moss signalling station or around that area above Huddersfield. You'd be, you know, you could be the first person to get like a land-based photograph of the east and west coast of Great Britain.
What's the name of the place?
Home Moss signalling station. It's about 1,900 feet above sea level.
Home Moss.
Signalling station. The Tour de France went past it. The course of the Tour de France went past it a few years ago.
Home Moss transmitting station, yeah?
That's it, yeah. All that area up there, off a few where the M62 comes off Ripondon Road up there, you can see all my life I've been down that road. You can see across to you can see across all the way across Lancashire to you can see the sea on a clear day, and this is all with like the naked eye. Off the other way, across where that Home Moss signalling station is, you can see right across the power stations, and they go right across Yorkshire, following the river through to the Humber Bridge, which is also massive. So if someone got a 360 up there, or it might not be exactly the Home Moss bit, but those heights up there you can see so far naked eye.
And you're saying that you can see right across to Grimsby? Is that Hull?
Well, I don't know. Not with the naked eye. You can see you can see like maybe stations on a clear day, maybe two normally, and they're moving across in a line. And then after the last power station, it's Drax, Egborough, and Ferrybridge power stations. There's one a bit further south called Heedby or something. But then a little bit further on from that is the Humber Bridge, and that's huge. You can't see that with the naked eye, but you can see it along the power stations. So if you got there with a P900 or a P1000. Find a spot somewhere up there near that Home Moss power station.
So you're looking at the width of the country there being about 100 miles, right? No, 80
I'm
miles.
not sure. I've not even looked into it. Maybe the height of it, around the heights I've looked at.
This is interesting. Can you bring up
Maybe you should.
Oh, you're already on it, Ranty. Check it out.
Where am I looking for?
Home Moss, HOLME. Home Moss transmitting station.
So, of course, of East and West Britain, though, land-based, the first person to do it, that'd be a bit of an attention grabber.
Okay. So I'm guessing this is it.
Drop a pin in it. Let's see if you zoom right out what we can. Let's see what we can see.
This is a reification fallacy, boys and girls.
Yeah, we can't really see any of this. It's just a model. Blah blah blah.
Oh, that's pretty cool because it is the highest point in the area for a good way. So let's see some distances. So you're looking 82 miles, 84 miles to the coast that way. 51 miles to the coast here. 84 miles that way. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, but it's the east and west bit, isn't it? You could do potentially a full rotation.
Do you find Thornley Moors?
Yeah, you could, because there's no other mountains in the way, is there? So
yeah, it's about 1700 feet.
You'd have to see if there's any locations near. Maybe looking for this cove would be quite.
Do you know what I reckon from there? I reckon you'd see the Isle of Man again, because that's not that much further than Winter Hill, and we know that we can see it from Winter Hill.
But there's always this thing that you can always come back to, and it's this thing here, the Advanced Earth Curve Calculator. So it doesn't matter what we see, because this machine here, we're going to call it a
bullshit
globe.
meter.
This is a globe maker. This is a globe maker. So this thing here tells me that we're all wrong, because all we have to do is just slide this bar, and it makes it a ball again.
The problem is, though, that defies physics because light doesn't bend. The way that light bends in the atmosphere is negligible because the atmosphere is effectively treated as a vacuum, where a vacuum has got a value of 1. Our actual air that we breathe is 1.00035 to 7. That's it. So it's like...
This says it's right.
I know.
This makes it a ball.
Oh, I like the new ranty. I like this new ranty attitude.
This makes it a ball. Oh.
You've basically stopped caring, haven't you, Ranty? You've realised that they're just assuming their outcome with this shit, and you've just stopped caring, correct?
Yes. This essentially, all the work I've done all this year, it's basically this trumps it, because all I really had to do was just slide this slider like that, and then it makes it a ball again. Yeah.
Well, it makes the model.
How cool is that?
You just fit the ball around you. You fit the religious belief around what you see, man. That's how it works.
That's it. If I filmed a triangle, I could use this machine here, this thing here, this slider, to make it round.
Yeah, you could turn it into a square. So if it does it in the model, then that makes it so, mate.
Into a ball again.
Yeah, this is, as Anthony correctly pointed out, this is a reification fallacy. We don't live in a model.
Definitely not a model.
Oh, Nathan, I wanted to show you something, actually. This video. I did a live stream about this. Now, forget the point that obviously the horizon isn't as far away as it should be on either model, the globe or the flat model. Essentially, the horizon is only 25 miles away. And it should be 31.9 on the globe, and obviously infinitely further on the flat model. But what I wanted to show you was that from where the hard horizon is here, that we see as a hard horizon, and we see the base of Blackpool Tower, in that distance there, from just where I'm moving my cursor now, we have 9 miles of ocean visible, right? So we've got 9 miles of ocean visible there. And yet, if I play the video, so just in that little bit of ocean, there's 9 miles.
See,
watch what happens when I zoom out, and then see how much we actually have. I think it's 16 miles underneath. So everything that's underneath it is 16 miles distance, and everything that was back towards the tower, that little area there, was 9 miles worth of ocean or sea, Anthony.
Yes,
and the rest of it was 16 miles.
Right, it's in the most limited of angle.
Yep.
So Flat Earth New Zealand did a really good demonstration of this, and all he did was have some text on a piece of paper and load the camera on the desk with a really cracking explanation.
Yep. So from my observer point to the bottom of the tower, 16 miles. From the bottom of the tower to the hard horizon, 9 miles. And yet it's in a tiny, tiny, tiny little area. And that's just what happens. The camera is trying to fit all that information in a very, very narrow viewing angle.
Yeah, from this point, it makes it much more obvious. Can you just pause it back on when you've got it on the edge of the rock, full widest angle? That's it. So from this, you can really see that you've got a nice wide angle to this guy, right? Because the ground that he's standing on is right in front of you. But if he was standing into the distance, he'd be a couple of pixels. But in their calculations, that guy is a 6-foot guy and should be visible the same as is visible there at any distance. Because if you put him inside profile and start viewing the side of your own head, it doesn't matter if you move him from what is currently on the left-hand side of the page in an orthographic side-on representation. This guy is that size. When you slide him to the right-hand side of an orthographic representation, i.e. perspective exclusive, then he's still exactly the same size. And when you point this out to them, that no, in the actual view of the observer, when he goes out to beyond Blackpool Tower, beyond the 16-mile mark, the further he goes, the tinier he becomes, and he's doing that, getting ever further away in the tiniest little section. So I'm going to do it. You guys can't see it, although Ranty will probably mimic what I'm about to do, and basically point out the actual section that Ranty was just zoomed in on. It's this much. In this picture, in the wide angle, it represents about, what, 40, 50 pixels? It's nothing. You know, we're talking about this tiny little area here. In other words, the narrowest of narrow angles into the distance. And yeah, it makes it seem like it's right in front of you when you zoom in on it. It doesn't change the fact that from this vantage point, the angle to here is tiny. Teeny, teeny, tiny, teeny, teeny, tiny. You've got from here, and then from here, the angle. That is your angle. It's tiny. It's virtually nothing. Your angle to this guy is obviously massive, because he's right next to you. Something that's totally ignored in the calculator, because they'll put him in a side view and then move him from left to right, maintaining his actual size. Anyway.
Here's another thing as well. When we look into the ocean or the sea, Anthony, we have this tiny area of visible sea, which is about 9 miles of sea. Are we seeing every droplet of water in this particular video footage? Are we seeing every drop of water? Or are the drops of water that are missing?
Don't follow. What do you mean every drop
Okay,
of
well,
water?
when they say, how come you've not got every detail of a mountain, etc., etc., yeah? So how can you capture every single detail in just a few pixels? We have 9 miles of water represented in what? Like you say, 40 or 50 pixels.
Yeah, the angular size of the details is too small. So yeah, you can see Blackpool Tower, but do we think we could see somebody standing in one of those windows? So I don't know if you can, just with your mouse, just highlight the windows at the top of Blackpool Tower. Do you think we could see someone standing in there? I don't think so. Their angular size is way beyond the limit of the camera. So you're not going to see somebody standing in there because you haven't got enough pixels. Just literally wave over the window only, just up and down. So we've got, no, up and down, up and down. So that's how high you've got. No, that's about 3 floors.
Yeah, no, it's tiny. It's a little tiny little.
That's what I want you to see. What you're doing now, exactly. So that's one window. It's about 4 pixels. So you're not going to be able to make a stick man out of that. You know what I mean? There's not enough pixels. It's too small, right? Well, the same applies to everything else in the distance. Once stuff is too small to see, the angle is too small, you can't see it anymore. It's called the diffraction limit, and it applies to everything in this frame. You're not going to see people walking out of their houses because they're too small to see.
Can I change topic slightly a little bit?
I don't know, you done, Ranty?
Yeah. I just wanted
was
to
excellent.
bring that up because I thought it was pretty cool.
It is very cool. Very good point. Oh, check it out. These people here are suddenly, 1/10 of the amount of pixels of this guy here. What gives? Surely they should be the same size as him. No, that's perspective, isn't it? They're a bit further away in that. Why is this? Why are we having to say this? It's bananas, isn't it?
Yeah. You're saying this because of Wiggles yesterday. Wiggles didn't understand that when he draw this orthographically, he needs to reduce the size of the people in the background. And he couldn't get his head around it. Or if he could get his head around it, he was deliberately deceiving us.
He smirked every time we had him over a barrel. So, you know, I'm sure Travis said it was stupid's delight. It's like either that or it's cognitive dissonance. You appreciate that your position doesn't make sense or it's not a tenable position to have when the contrary is put to you. And his only response was to say, I agree to disagree, until we held him over that barrel for about 40 further minutes, until he eventually conceded. Okay, I just believe in this stuff. I think he even said, okay, it's my religious belief. I'm wrong.
Does everybody believe everything that they see on the news?
I don't believe anything I see on the news because I don't watch the news anymore as a consequence of that.
What about things that don't make the news, that should make the news?
I don't have a TV, I don't watch the news, I avoid it at all costs.
Right now, people are not being told on the news about the riots that's happening in France, the rioting over the rising cost of fuel, right? For whatever political reasons, who cares what the reasons are, the civilians, the citizens of the state of France are rising up against the government, rising up to the extent that the police, the riot police, actually took their helmets off whilst they were stood in formation with the shields up, trying to stop these protesters from doing the damage that they were causing, which, let's be honest, it's crazy, but they're doing it because they're rebelling against the establishment. And they took the helmets off as a show of solidarity. But today, the medics, the paramedics have done the same, and the fire brigades have all done the same. And basically, France seems to be on the verge of what seems to be at least a massive disruption, if not potentially an uprising against the government. But it's not making the news at all. There's a complete media blackout on it. Now, if you look on Twitter and Instagram, you can see people that are posting pictures from France right now, today, of fighting. And the point I'm making, I know it's not really flat Earth related, but it's to do with the media. If it's in the media, people will tend to believe that it's true. But what about when it's not in the media, and it should be in the media, and people then don't even get to know about it? That's the same as the education system when we're not being told that these points that we're talking about on the flat Earth debate, we're not being told the truth. So these things that we talk about on flat Earth, they're happening right now in Paris. They're rioting against the government for the rising cost of fuel, and it's not being made onto the news. Now, whether or not you can argue, well, maybe it's not newsworthy, I'd say it absolutely, definitely is newsworthy. But my point is that if you're not being told the truth, then it's a lie by omission. And this is the whole point for flat Earth, because it's lying by omission. They're not telling people that there are issues with what we're told as fact to be true. And just check out Instagram and Twitter and stuff to see the updates from Paris riots now. Just type it in, you'll see it. It's crazy. The news are not telling us. So we're all getting the news from our peers. We're not getting the news from the establishments that are supposed to be telling us the news. So just think about that in the context of flat Earth.
They get told on the news that everything's fine, then people will believe that everything's fine, and they'll parrot that narrative back to people like us when we tell them the awful truth.
Yeah, so yesterday I watched a movie. It's called The Titan. And it was this group of people, they were hired by NASA, and they were gonna modify these humans to make him a new race,
God,
and
that one.
so they able to live in Titan, the moon of what is it, Jupiter, whatever it is, the big, and it's
Yeah.
such a programming movie. And this little kid of one of the astronauts, he go like, Dad, I got a fun fact. Like, there's a hurricane 3 times as big as Earth in Jupiter or whatever bullshit. And I was so cringing. And my wife say, I know what you're feeling, but stop it. I want to see the movie. I say, it was a good movie to watch, but all these balls spinning around and all this mess and programming, it was just awful.
Get that a lot. People
Yeah,
telling
so many
me a
more like that.
recommendation, you should watch this movie because it's absolutely ram-packed with globe programming. Like, yeah, I'm alright.
Yes, it is.
Thanks all the same. They're all like that. TV is basically the devil. It's just non-stop propaganda from every single angle.
Yeah, I think the last time I watched some news, I haven't watched TV in almost 2 years, but I had to watch some news last year when the hurricanes were going hard. So Hurricane Irma was going to Florida, and I watched some news, but it was just fear porn. And you gotta get out, and you have to find shelter, and this and that. When the hurricane went by, it was just a small hurricane, category 1 for where I was. And everybody was freaking out, and they wiped out the supermarkets, buying all the canned food and everything. I could just stay home. Not even the power went out for a few days, and that's about it. Nothing critical happened. After that, I haven't watched news. When I hear the people talking about big hurricane coming or big depression or center or whatever cold, I just let it be. When it start feeling cold, I get my jacket. When it start raining, I get my umbrella out. Pretty much, that's it. It's nothing to see in TV. Nothing.
Yeah, I remember somebody showing me a video of a news reporter, making out like it was category 3 hurricane and leaning into the wind, and then a couple of kids in the background were on their mobile phone in shorts.
And they were looking at him as if to say, what the hell is he doing?
Yeah, the news is poison. Make it seem more windy.
Yeah, I came in late to the show. Is any of the housekeeping points been proven or showed today at all?
No, we're waiting on Slice Barcane to address Ranty's observation from Nicky Nook, and we're waiting for Rumpus to address Anthony's observation of the Isle of Man, north end of the Isle of Man, from the beach. But that's what the countdown for the show is.
It's a countdown for that.
Yeah, countdown to reification.
Is that Riley coughing over there? What do you eat, man? Does the chemicals get to you again?
Do you know, I actually coughed into my thick woolly dressing gown to mute it. I didn't think it would get through. Was it loud?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
We need to keep this seriously boring conversation going so that hopefully there's a globehead who tunes in right about now that's like... These...
Matt Taylor.
Shout out to Matt Taylor. If you listen back to yesterday's show, Nathan, I was listening to it while I was out and about yesterday. That point where Matt rings is actually really funny. I shouldn't publish it. I shouldn't promote it, but it was perfectly timed. Ranty's reaction was...
I was having to think about what you said on the last show. I mean, if people do that, I'd be seriously flattered and grateful. But it was very interesting to see you playing the show in a car. I was like, this is weird. It's like you're listening to the radio. I know you described it to us when you said you'd done it in the bus, but it just seemed really weird when you actualised it and showed how you were consuming the show, and you chit chat alongside it. I think your missus said something like, "I bet his nuts have shriveled to walnuts" or something like that. Just comical commentary. But literally, you were just filming the dashboard of your car. But yeah, Anthony on the last show basically suggested the audience. It'd be really interesting if you've got a YouTube channel and you know how to upload a video. Just literally grab your phone and film, unless it's your phone you're using. Obviously, that'll make it an impossibility. But just maybe film what how you're sat watching or consuming the show, just for our own intrigue. A bit of voyeurism. We can see how you're consuming it. If it's good, I'll mirror it. If you give me permission, of course. But yeah, I'd be fascinated to see how people do actually consume the show. I mean, I do hear whispers from the comments in chat. People normally with a moan like, "Why did you kick the rumpus? I really enjoy a globe head devastation during breakfast." It's like, I want to see one of those videos, someone sat, not necessarily actually see them in their dressing gown, but, see them sat over the bowl of cereal with their iPad or whatever they're watching on. That'd just be interesting to see how people are actually consuming this show.
I think it'd be great. I mean, you have the impression that everyone's sat there in their office with the little speakers, the little crappy speakers, turning it up and it crackles. That's the impression that you get, don't you? Because it's YouTube. But I wonder, I mean, I know that some people, I know that Roxanne, the globalist denier, for example, she's got a projector in her living room that's cast onto the wall above her fire. So it's like as if she's got the widescreen TV there, but there's no TV there. Now, I find that really weird to look at because I always think that you're not getting the full picture when you've got a reflection. But my point being that that's how she does it. And I think that it's worth, if you've got a unique or novel way of listening to the show, record it on your phone and then send it, because let's see it, because I reckon we could collage maybe 10 of these things together and just make it look really good as an advert, because it is interesting.
My own show, and then I might go and play your video if I can dig it out. So if you missed the first show, if you're a late riser over in the States, then it will replay the first show that is over on my second channel together with the pre-show. So before the show starts, I do start recording almost straight away, so there's often a bit of dead air at the beginning, or there was this morning because I made a bit of a mistake. But nevertheless, the pre-show will air also for the first time as a premiere on my second channel when this live stream ends. So check out Nathan Oakley channel for the pre-show and the repeat of the first debate. That'll go out once this live stream ends. I'm going to see if I can dig out Anthony's video so I can give you an example of what we are talking about.
Yeah, it beats listening to. I mean, Radio 2 is a really good show to listen to. Radio 1's really good to listen to, depending on how old you are. But at the end of the day, I mean, just if you've got like one of these multimedia screens in your vehicle now, and just connect to it via Bluetooth, just play it on your phone, click to your Bluetooth, and then it plays through the car. It's fantastic. It's just probably the best way of doing it. The only downside is it's a bit fiddly through your phone to get it to do it, but once you've got it working, it's great.
I'm going to share this so you can have a look at what we're talking about.
Yeah, go on. Hashtag trigger the haters.
You know,
I
wish
won't
I could film myself being on the debate while I got fingers and all types of electronics of a $26,000 machine.
Might be
cool,
even more
but
confusing.
I can't do it. My camera doesn't work.
Well, this is Anthony's example. I don't know if you can see chocolate. So
it does change with distance. Precisely our point, as concisely put by you. It does change with distance.
So there you go. So that's Anthony's take on a very shouty bit of the show from me. But there we go. So he's just basically filmed how he's consuming the show, and that's pretty much all you need. You know, and that was what 10 seconds of it to get the point of what he's watching. He's on the road watching it in his car.
And just for those, oh, gotta go.
Dogs are getting aggressive.
Darwin there. This is where the snipers think, our opportunity.
No way.
We'll snipe the show.
No, I'm just kicking the shit out of the total wanker clown Laurie.
Oh,
What
Laurie's
a
chatting to you in the
moron.
chat.
And he makes these statements like, oh yeah, you have to do this, you have to do that, or my knowledge. But he openly admits to literally knowing nothing. And he can't even use Google. I wonder if this guy is blind or something. It's literally
So he retired for coming on this show already?
Arrogant shithead.
I wonder if he retired already from coming on the show. Maybe he hasn't been able to find the circumference of the Earth yet.
Anyway, I've been chatting and explaining a lot about the misassumptions of the moon and the moon craters, how the moon craters are an aberration of the apparition of the globe of the heavens.
No swearing.
Yeah. No, but it is because of their suggestive nature, because of their physical suggestive nature, that kind of makes them an aberration.
See, Arwen, now you're getting fancy. Now it's an aberration of an apparition.
Yeah.
Now you're getting fancy.
An aberration is purely optical. An aberration is heavily missuggestive. To suggest against the intuition of what it really is. That makes it a typical aberration. That is why gravity is such an aberration, because it's so heavily suggestive that it is something while it's not. Doesn't need to be.
What we need this sort of nonsense, because then globeheads will think they can come in easily to debunk our nonsense.
Good luck with that.
Well, I noticed that Ruhif did a video today.
Who's Ruhif?
Oh, some guy in Australia. And yeah, he screwed up big time. He misidentified a ton of mountain ranges. I've been talking to him on Skype. I was trying to get him to address how much of the hidden was missing. Of course, he didn't address that at all. And he completely got all the mountain ranges named wrong. For instance, Greba isn't Greba where he says it was. It's Slew Roy. Carrigan, again, he called it Carrigan. It wasn't. It's called Colden. The unnamed was actually Carrigan. He's all over the place. I mean, the guy's, whatever he's doing, he's not doing it correctly.
Shout out to Earth is Seriously Flat. Super chat. Thank you very much.
It's a bit like when Sly Sparkane, I had the hangout with Sly, in which I predicted that he would kick me because he can't answer one particular question. And when we got to the question that I predicted he'd kick me on, that's exactly what he did. He kicked me because he can't answer the one question. And the question in my case was, how is it that we see this land? And when I asked him that, he said, you can't prove it's land. And I'm like, well, we do definitely see it, right? And I had to squeeze it out of him that he did accept that it was actually land. But the point was that when we got to that question, he demanded that I accept that it was a mirage. That means that it's not actually there. It's being manifested somehow. And I wouldn't admit that. I wouldn't accept that. I said, no, that's not true. We're seeing it. You've got to prove that it is a mirage. I don't have to accept that it's a mirage. You've got to prove that it is. And obviously he kicked me. And because he kicked me, my prediction turned out to be right. He didn't want to address how it is that this was 700 feet behind the curve of the Earth. So it's the same with Rue. If they don't like the curve calculator when it goes against them, that's why it would have been interesting the other day to watch Rumpus beg the question when Nathan kicked him, because I really wanted to see how he was going to wiggle his way out of that, to be honest. But I understand why he did it.
Another shout out to Earth is Seriously Flat. Thanks again for the super chat.
Yeah, the question is, how much of the mountain are we seeing? You know, not just the height of the peak. You know, we don't want just the height of the peaks. We know the heights of the peaks. We know the height of this peak. We know the height of this peak. I want to know how much of it we're actually seeing down to the base.
I'm going to say we're seeing all of it.
Yeah, we're seeing all of it, except for this stuff in the most limited of angle, which has disappeared from the bottom up. In this case, because you've got an absolutely exceptional camera, and it can zoom very, very far, you're seeing pretty much all of it.
Well, it's more to do with that point that I just made about when I was looking at Blackpool Tower and I was showing you the ocean. We had 9 miles of ocean in a very, very small band of area, right? Now, like you say, this is the narrowest angle at the bottom. You know, we can have quite a lot of mountain range in that very narrow angle right here. The same with the video. So going back to the video, over here, when we come back to Blackpool Tower, we've got 9 miles of water there in a very small, narrow band. Narrow viewing angle. 9 miles.
9 miles?
9 miles of water.
Yeah, so zoom back out, go to the wide angle again, Anthony, because I think this is really poignant, because when you see it in a wide horizontal angle, i.e. zooms out, pans back, see what in the actual frame is being occupied by 9 miles of water, and that's going to get more severe the further you go. It's going to get smaller and smaller and smaller, right? It's further away. Isn't this is what I said last time? Why are we having to explain this simple stuff? Oh, right, yeah, that was it, because it gets completely ignored by globe heads, and it gets called curvature. That's the point, isn't it? Say again, Ranty.
We're having to explain it because the morons on the other side of the discussion will obfuscate the hell out of it so it becomes unclear.
Well, they've called it curvature.
What do you mean they've called it curvature?
Perspective. That's what they call curve.
So if you grab one of these mountains and take a control image of it, like a picture from really close, and you do a blink test over the 20, 30, 40 miles away, you can probably match the top 2/3 of the image. It's going to be a little distorted, they're really far away, but it's going to match up pretty good. Now, the bottom third of the image, there is where the mirage and the compression zone is going, so it's not going to add up. You can match the top 2/3, but the bottom of the image, it's not going to match at all.
I would somewhat agree with that.
Precisely.
And that also ties in very well with Ruhif's initial and double down assertion that we're seeing down to around about 700 feet missing. However, that's just by what we can see on the image, right? But the simple fact is that 1,200 feet should be missing. So they're conveniently ignoring this 500 missing feet. And I'll give you an idea of what 500 feet is. 500 feet of additional curve that isn't there is the height of Blackpool Tower. The height of Blackpool Tower. They are saying
and we can do that too, Ranty. We can say the height of Blackpool Tower, ignoring the fact that it's closer, because who cares, right? In a non-perspective orthographic world, we can say that much should be missing, because it doesn't matter whether or not we slide it closer or further from the target or from the observer. It makes no difference. 500 feet's 500 feet, right? So that much of the mountain should be missing. There's 500 feet. We know that tower is. So that much should be missing, right, dickheads? What are you going to say? Oh no, what about perspective? That's 500 feet that's closer to you? No, no, no. Not in your world. We don't need to worry about that, do we? Perspective is completely omitted. So there's 500 feet in the picture. Well, that much should be missing of those mountains.
Exactly. And what they will then double down with is just go back to this advanced curve calculator, and they will wiggle this like this, and they will just go strong refraction, stronger refraction, super
slightly
refraction.
looming non-standard refraction hyena refraction.
Yeah, that's the bullshit.
Super looming non-standard refraction hyena refraction.
Yeah, now it
Super
matches.
looming.
All we have to do is slide this little thing, and we get our ball back.
But why are you having to slide that thing? It's because stuff that we can see shouldn't be seen. So they just bend it around the curve of the Earth that they've presupposed that doesn't work.
Can I just point
with
out
a little slider?
Can I just point out, Ranty, go over to the left on the refraction bit.
Over here, yeah.
Move the slider up to the left.
Yep.
Right, put it to the point where the value is 1.
1?
Hole number 1.
Well, that's going to be over here.
So we must be using 0 as his benchmark then. So go back to your 0. Yeah, that's the
that's
exact,
0.
right?
Yeah.
That's with no refraction, right? So basically, the atmospheric refraction of air is the value of 1.0003 to 5. So basically, it's to the 1,000th decimal place, right? And that's the refraction index of air. Now, when you're looking over water, water vapor is less refractive. It's got less density to it, and light bends up, not down. But look at how much you can move that slider, but the value for the refraction moves negligibly in real world. But on the refraction bullshitometer, look at how much refraction is actually being applied there. And in real world, it's complete and utter nonsense. They're literally lying right in your face by allowing you to refract that much, because refraction doesn't do that. Refraction moves negligibly, and it's to the 1,000th of a decimal place, 10,000th of a decimal place at times. So what they're doing there is totally disproportionate to the actual refraction real world, and it's completely unrealistic. But if you believe that refraction can act like that, then you can basically have the comfortable feeling that you think you live on a ball again.
Well,
but in the real world,
slider,
refraction doesn't do what that bullshit meter slider
their refraction slider has nothing to do with refraction, because it's based on R. It's bending around R. That's what their refraction does. That slider's irrelevant. It doesn't have anything to do with the more or less refractive effects of the day, because it's based on R, not on refraction. So you arbitrarily increase or decrease the refraction depending on what you want to do to the vision that you actually get when you take a picture of something that shouldn't be there in their religious worldview of a globe with an Earth with a hump between you and the thing you're looking at. Now, does their curve calculator account for the perspective of the hump itself, which is in the near foreground and obviously perceived to be much larger than the things in the distance? Of course it doesn't, because there is no hump. There's only the effects of perspective, and they say that stuff should be should or shouldn't be hidden. Well, what are you talking about? Why don't you show us Earth curve?
Well, I just want to point out that these two images were taken on 2 separate days. So these were stitched together to create a composite to show you the entirety of the north part of the Isle of Man that I was able to see. And in each of these observations, the height above the turbines in relation to the mountain is exactly the same all throughout the mountain. Nothing's changed. And yet we're supposed to believe that the height of Blackpool Tower has magically been applied to this mountain in the background on 2 separate days, 2 separate weather conditions, different times of day, and was able to loom these up into the exact same position in relation to the turbines in the foreground.
It's
so
total nonsense.
You got the same image twice.
Total nonsense. I mean, you're currently going out to Barrow and filming something that's a reference point between you and these things that apparently are looming every single time you go there, because they're all long gone behind the curve of the Earth if you presuppose there's a hump in the way, which isn't accounted to be bigger because of perspective, and the stuff in the distance isn't accounted to be smaller because of perspective. But all that aside, you've got imagery of the same thing in the same proportions at the same position, not looming up and down. It's the same every time you go and take a picture of it.
Yeah, yeah. It's the same. It doesn't matter where it is, but they will tell you that whatever the refraction index was to get this 500 feet of loom, right? Because obviously they're agreeing that there's 500 feet of refraction going on this mountain to see what we're able to see. So the same refractive index was on both days, on separate days, separate times. Now, it's the same when I go to Barrow. Obviously, this isn't an image of Barrow, but every time I go and I see from 1 foot or an inch or 10 feet or 3 feet, it doesn't really matter. They're always claiming different levels of refraction that always make it appear that we always see the same amount. So we always see the lighthouse in its entirety. We always see Devonshire Dock Hall. We always see the chimneys exactly where they are. Nothing changes, but they will always say that there's a different amount of looming going on different times. And that can't be true. Or, you know, I mean, it's just insanity to believe that every single time we go and get a flat surface to surface observation, you know, floor to floor, it's always being refracted to essentially like super refraction.
Well, do you want to show us, Ranty? So we go from this is 80 plus miles, this observation of the Isle of Man, and it's been done at an even greater distance by Sandra, but we've also got stuff that you can get nice details on that's at much shorter distance. Again, should be gone behind the curve of the Earth if you presuppose that the Earth is a sphere. You beg the question, and you use a begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective hijacking curve calculator to actually assert that your assumption the Earth is a sphere in the first place is actually the case. Fallacious, but nevertheless, should you do all of those steps of fallacious reasoning, you will come out with the conclusion that you shouldn't see any of the stuff that we're about to be presented by Ranty. None of it should be there, it should all be behind the curve of the Earth. The explanation being, well, you slide this slider in our model, and refraction brings it back. Oh, really? So it brings it back to the same extent every single time that you go and have a little look at it? Well, that wouldn't be the case. Surely it would occasionally be, you know, in its normal position. You wouldn't constantly see this non-stop mirage effect of Barrow in finesse. No. It's just buildings that you're just looking at. It's just there because the Earth's obviously and observably flat. You don't have to justify it with a curve calculator and some nonsense about superlooming every single time you see a building. Just go building. Yeah, the Earth's flat. What's the big deal? Oh, right, what's that you say? You've got a religious belief that you're on a spinning ball flying through space? Oh, I don't care about any of that nonsense. Building, it's just Devonshire Dock Hall. Why do I need to suddenly dig out a bloody calculator and explain why I don't see it but do see it? That's nonsense. Doublespeak at its highest of description. You know, it's just doublespeak.
I'm trying to find where I've put all this stuff. That would be the one with refraction on.
It's the most recent ones I want to see, the ones that are nice and juicy because they're from the P1000.
Yeah, okay, one sec. Let's see if I can. I don't know where.
It's nice seeing all this stuff in really good detail. It's like the lighthouse suddenly looks like, you know, looks like it's a couple of miles away on the P900.
Nope. So that was from. I have to find it. Don't know where I've put them, Nath. 3rd of December. Here we go.
Hopefully get it on. We're going to round out in about 5 minutes.
Right. Okay. Bear with me. Bear with me. Bear with me. I don't know where it all is, Nath.
It's all right. For those of you who don't think your money's worth out of Ranty, that list of files is every time he's opened the shutter.
Let me have a look, see if I can. Give me 2 minutes to find
No worries. No pressure. So yeah, join us again tomorrow. 3 days to deadline on our countdown to reification. Hey, Alan.
Rubbish show, Nathan.
Can't all be excellent, Alan.
How nice to see you, Alan. Do you want to point your finger of accusation at Ranty whilst you're here?
He's already run away.
What? Why?
He's already
What
run
have I
away.
missed anyway? Come on, you're gonna have to tell me what's this.
No, I don't want to stir the shit pot without drama. I want Alan to do it because I want him to lick the spoon if he's going to fling the shit. I think it's not fair that he should get away with bad mouthing people and then say in the background chat to me on Skype that he what was it? His words were, what does he say now? I can't be arsed, Tony. It's so boring. Yeah, it's not boring to stir the shit pot though, and not lick the spoon, is it, Alan? And let's just remind folk that the only reason why the show's boring is because there is no evidence to support the idea that we live on a ball.
I'm going to give Ranty 60 more seconds, hopefully.
I honestly don't know where it is.
He's still
all my
looking.
new stuff, all my stuff. It's like I don't know whether I don't know. It's just disappeared.
Shall I give up? Shall I round out the show and we'll show it on the after show? I'll plug it as though it's something that's absolutely fantastic and should be seen. So check it out on the after show if you do want to see Ranty's footage, which I'm sure I'll find the moment this live show rounds out. But I will say first and foremost a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the debating panel for making this debate possible, and of course a massive thank you to all of the live audience for tuning in and hopefully sharing this debate. If you hated the show, then smash that dislike button, but then smash it again. But if you like the show, maybe consider sharing it with a friend or subscribing if you've not done so already. Also, massive thanks to all who hit the super chat. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Hey, look what piece of shit just dropped in.
Who just dropped in?
Lori.
Arwin is just triggered because I owned his ass.
No,
Right, guys, I'm going to leave you.
you don't own anything. You don't even know any basic info. It's publicly out there.
Yeah,
Don't
that's
own
fine.
anything. You ask
That's-
all these
that's
questions,
funny.
make all these demands of things you obviously don't even get close to knowing, because you're a pathetic sack
that's
of
cool,
shit.
man.
You're a pathetic, trollish sack of shit.
This is intense. This is intense.
Hey, Ranty. I was gonna ask you if have you tried using an infrared filter on your P1000?
Not yet. It has a blocker in, doesn't it?
People were saying you just have to expose it for a little bit longer. So you change the exposure, and they actually sell one that fits your camera. It's like 70 pounds.
Right, cool.
But you might be able to get a little bit longer, because I don't know what's behind the Ion Man that you could see. I don't know if the peaks behind that are even taller, but I was watching one video. This guy was doing it from Malibu, facing back in towards the mountains, and yeah, he was getting like, he was saying the peaks he was seeing were about 150 miles away. And they're pretty clear. There's a lot of detail in it.
Yeah, I mean, I could make it sharper. I mean, it's a learning curve in it with this new camera, so I've been putting a lot of work into it. So I should, next time I go up, and I'll be able to hopefully see a lot more detail.
Yeah,
That's the plan.
yeah. I guess I realized watching that guy's videos, it's more or less what we're talking about is the angular position of things, right? So where they should be in the frame, because obviously you can see like a bunch of these mountains, but I think the position they are is what's wrong. Like with the globe, they should be a lot lower than what we're actually seeing, I think, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Say again.
Well, when you look at a mountain in the distance, because you should be able to calculate where it would be in the photo if you're on a globe. So if it's going behind a curve, the further away it is, the lower it should be, where you should be not seeing as much of it. But in like your photos, you can pretty much clearly see the whole deal. Like the mountains are all there. I'm not sure exactly how to calculate it. That's what I was maybe going to ask. Is like, once you get to angular size, how do you figure out where with the position it should be, like in the frame?
I know I might do some work on that over the next couple of days.
Yeah, there's a video that I posted on Facebook, and then now there's a couple people talking about it, and so I'm just gonna like go through how he calculated it and see, try to get it in my head so I can like explain it clearly to people, you know?
Yeah. I'm really cheesed off. I can't find this work that I've had. Right. Normally I've got it all in folders. I'm going to have to go back through Nathan's old videos and see where I displayed it.
Bummer. You're going to have to sort yourself out some sort of filing system.
Well, I've sent my old hard drive away to be... They've found the data on it because it crashed, yeah? And I had like 400 gigabyte of data that was lost when that crashed, that 3 terabyte drive. So they've been able to dig it back out. So I need to get a new drive now to give to them so that they can put that data onto it. And in the meantime, I still don't know where I've put the videos that I've done recently.
So when you get your 3 terabyte back, right? Presumably you've got from what Anthony was telling me, you've got like a little SSD that runs the operating system. Are you going to just get rid of all the other hard drives in the system?
Well, I think it was an issue with the actual supplier. You know, the Toshiba. There's a lot of people complained about that particular make, saying that it only, it crashed within 3 months. It lost all the data, this, that, and the other. So I'm thinking it's something to do with that. The actual make and model, the Toshiba 3 terabyte or whatever it's called. Yeah, 3 terabyte one.
So are you getting your money back under warranty or anything?
Well, I'm going to complain to him and say, hey, I want my money back.
Bastards.
Yeah, that's pretty rare. I never lost a hard drive, but...
I said that to Anthony this morning on the pre-show that's actually playing out now. Don't know if any of you guys watched the pre-show on Nathan Oakley channel. Anyway, I was saying, yeah, you've got to be really, really unlucky to have a hard drive go these days. They're just so bulletproof.
Well, not in my case. Yeah, like you say, unlucky, but it's a shame because it had like all last year's, all from say, well, there's a lot of data on it. I can't even tell you exactly what was, because it went in date order. So like all the stuff that was dated the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, of each month, that was all removed.
Bummer.
Now, what's this? Right, what's this? Here we go. Need to get the number of this DSCN on here. It's on your video from yesterday. Hopefully I'll pause it at some point and the number will pop up and I can search for it. Oh, 7396, was it? 7396, yeah. Got it. Let's find that. 7396. What? Why is it not showing it? DSCN 7396. Yeah. So why isn't it displaying it? Not on my computer, apparently.
Did you apply R properly?
Hmm? Yeah.
Joke. In joke.
Where the hell's it gone then?
Where did Larry go?
I kicked his ass.
Why did you kick him?
Because I freaking hate him. He's a disgusting piece of shit, and he's been going at it obsessively in chat. He's like mentioned my name like at least 50 times this hangout.
I was hoping you two would get into it though.
Yeah, man. Me too.
No, I'm just publicly shitting him all over him and completely going to the absolute core. Because he is a really shitty troll, you know? Rumpus can still be somewhat amusing up to a certain point. This guy is pure shit. He knows
He's still in the chat
literally
now.
nothing. He answers no question ever. Hasn't done ever. And he knows nothing.
He's
Total
still in the
wank.
chat now saying you've got faulty premises or something like that.
I'd rather have a hangout with Chris MCM or something. Seriously. The guy is a total...
He's mentioning you now.
shithead.
Let's see how long Arwin keeps throwing me out from the post-show hangout. Seems to be triggered as hell nowadays.
Shame on you, Armin. Shame on you.
He's calling you out, man. He's not even here.
No, he's still in chat. He's adding the count. He wants to get to 60 before the show ends.
Found it.
Oh, cool.
This
Ace
is obviously
Amundo.
my most recent one, my most recent one. But how cool is this, Nath, of seeing into those buildings that are on the shoreline? Into the buildings.
Crystal clear.
Did you get
Crystal
Anthony's
clear.
point that he was making? Because I think what he was basically saying in his own special way was that the P900 is obviously better, but if you were out spending £1,000 of your own money just for people like Alan B to go, no, you know, or a response similar, then
No.
that would leave you, you know, not feeling like you got good value out of the camera given its high price. And I was like, why do you care what Alan thinks? But that was my attitude. But he was saying, well, you know, it's all well and good if it's been crowdfunded, because then when you get these assholes just giving the hand wave dismissal to stuff like this, glorious that it is, it doesn't feel like it's feeling robbed of £1,000, basically, was I think his point.
Much.
I mean, this is awesome, this part, because we're seeing that castle, and it's like none of it should be there. Nothing. Hello.
Got a beautiful mirage on that house as well that's on the shoreline. Again, obviously at the most limited of angle.
Just there, yeah. Just at the bottom. It
I
runs
was
through
meaning
the
to
whole
ask
image,
you this,
though.
Ranty. You know
Sorry?
you know when you got the mirage above the buildings?
Yeah.
Were you angling the camera up?
Oh, the mirage is consistent. It doesn't matter whether I angle it up or down. I mean, there's only been one time that I've been able to get underneath that mirage, so to speak, and that was when I caught that from the 1 foot observation and saw absolute shore to shore.
I'm still a bit perplexed by it. I mean, obviously, straight off the bat, yes, it's wonderful. The globe heads could never, ever in a million years model that. You know, it's an impossibility. It's an absolute globe destroyer. But then it still leaves you with the question: well, what actually causes that? Yeah, this refraction at the bottom edge, right near the horizon. We can explain that all day long, right? The diffraction limit. That's why it's mirroring underneath itself. It's going to happen in every picture, unless there's an obstruction from a wave that blocks out that zone. In which case, you don't see it. But this is nice and calm, so you can see it. It's tiny.
And what's also quite interesting that I've found out in this location is that because it's in a cove, you get something called a tidal bore. So there's been a couple of videos that I've put out from locations nearer. Let me see if I can get it on Google Earth, actually. Let's clear that and I'll show you what I mean. So I found a new spot, and basically it was just so that I could. It was somewhere where I could lie down on a concrete slab that was basically the water would eventually come up and go over it. And I thought, this is ace. And I think it was about just right about here, you know, not far from here anyway. So somewhere in this location there. And obviously it's much nearer to Barrow, yeah, across here.
Right.
But when I filmed it, it looked like there was a hump of water blocking out the bottom of everything that I was looking across, you know, the sand dunes. It did look like there was a hump there, and it flummoxed me for a while. And then what I realized was that this location here, because it's like it's an absolute cove, and when you get the tides coming in, you get something called a tidal bore, and that artificially raises the height of the water above the mean. So you have these channels that obviously that run in this area, like sandbanks, and as the water's pushing in, you get channels of artificially raised water in this area called a tidal bore. And I didn't even know. I assumed that was something that would be. That's why I looked into it. And when I found out that that's what it was, basically the water that's being pushed in on the tide is clambering over the water that's in front of it. Yeah, because it has nowhere else to go and it wants to push itself up. So it has to clamber over the water that's already stationary in this cove. Yeah, as it's being pushed in. So when I filmed from here and I thought it looked like there was a hump, what I've realized was it was tidal. You do get tidal bores, especially in locations like this. This is why, you know, when Wolfie filmed that boat in the distance, and he had one in front of the other, that was in a channel like this, in an estuary, and he had this tidal bore was obviously happening on that too. It's a very interesting phenomena that I think we need to look into a little bit more, because when you've got this stuff going on, same with Soundly. You know, Soundly, when his isn't a lake, it's literally, well, it's called Lake Pontchartrain, but it's tidal. It suffers tides. So you have water being pushed over from one side to the other, and you get these tidal bores. That's the water pushing over the stationary water.
And with that, I'm going to say a massive, huge, enormous thank you to all of the Nathan Oakley audience for tuning into this after show and hopefully sharing it. If you hated it, then smash the dislike button twice, but if you liked it, maybe consider sharing it with a friend or subscribing if you've not done so already. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!